Good evening, everybody. I'm a little behind today, but nonetheless, I'm here, and I just want to start off quick and saying this is a very extremely special episode of the Rotten Report today. As you may have heard from recent posts, I am interviewing Ms. Sandy Johnson, Judith Myers from the original Halloween, and I could not be more excited. So I'm gonna get on here, hopefully find her. One second, guys. There we go. All right. Hopefully she'll get that hopefully she'll get that soon and join me here. Should be a great episode today. Got the Tomb Tones are here. And I got Carl here. Let's see here. And she has joined. So I'll invite her. I'm a little bit nervous. I got the jitters. Let's see. Requests. There we go. Let's see if we can get this fired up. Hey, I'm assuming this is Kyle. Unicorn is unable to join. Let's see what's going on here. Technical difficulty, guys. Stand by. Hopefully we can get this figured out. If not, we may try a different method, actually. Oh, there she is.
Hey there.
Hi there, Sandy.
How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm a little nervous, but I'm here nonetheless. How are you?
I'm good.
First things first, can you hear me okay?
I can. Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Perfect then. We can hear each other.
Great. Last video I did, we had a little bit of a technical difficulty. I don't know if my internet connection was a little buzzed or whatever, but luckily there's no delays or nothing, so here we go. It's finally great to be able to talk to you.
Well, it's nice to talk to you. We've been going back and forth for a long time, it seems.
Yeah. It's very nice to virtually meet you, I should say. Hopefully.
Well, hopefully we'll meet at a con too.
Very, very, very hoping. Hopefully, Days of the Dead in Indianapolis picks you up, or Horror Hound in Cincinnati in September.
I'm hoping.
Fingers crossed. I know them.
Yes.
So, I'd like to go ahead and get started if you don't mind. I've got some great questions. I'd like to, just kind of chat. I don't want to be like, too formal, because then I feel like, being too formal just seems, I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable. Like, I like to have a conversation more or less.
All right.
So let's talk, of course, the big topic of the hour is, of course, going to be Halloween. I got my hat and 40. As you can see by some of the stuff in the background here, I'm quite the Halloween nerd.
Yeah, I see that. Nice collection.
It could be more. I'd like more, but what can you do? So, so you kind of were like just out of the public eye for a very long time. What was your initial reaction when you found out people were, wondering where you were? Like, whatever happened to Sandy Johnson, who played Judith Myers? Like, and there were people, like, there were forums and blogs and stuff like that, just like, whatever happened to her? Like, what was your reaction hearing of all these fans?
When my current agent first found me and told me all this stuff, I was like, what? Who is this guy getting a hold of me through social media? And so at first I just kind of thought, I don't think so. And then he sent me to his website, and I saw that he was actually a legitimate agent and had almost 100 other clients, so I guess he wasn't just a goofball. So he told me all about it, and I went online and started Googling my name, and lo and behold, all these things started coming up. So yeah, it was like, whoa. It was a definite surprise, a little overwhelming in the beginning, but now I've taken hold of it and accepted the responsibility, and here we go.
That's great. I was, um, which is another a part of my continuation of this. Like, you've really kind of embraced the fandom, and also the character of Judith herself. As I mean, most people who will see this, I'm sure, have seen you've done numerous photo shoots as Judith, and you still look perfect. Honestly, I mean, if they
Thank you.
if they went and remade the original, I mean, well, obviously that was some 40 odd years ago, but still. Um,
Uh,
yeah, I mean, people are like, well, it's just Judith Myers. She was only in it for, like a minute or two. And it's like, so she was still in Halloween. I mean, she's still, it's because of her. Michael Myers is, there's the story right there. He kills his sister and then sets off the chain of events.
yes. Well, it's very cool to be Michael's first kill. It, like I said, it's a big responsibility. And so
Absolutely.
I have a big responsibility, and not only to Judith, but also to the fandom. Like you said, when I realized that I had all these fans out there that have been looking for me forever, as well as my agent and other agents, I just thought, wow, I need to help them catch up. I need to catch up. So that's what I've been doing. I've been busy meeting fans and learning about them and how they got interested in Halloween, and rewatching the movie several times, as well as all the other Halloweens, and visiting cons. So it's been an education on my part as well.
So getting on the subject of convention, so your first ever convention was the 40-year anniversary in Pasadena back in
It
2000.
was, yes, it was my agent. He got offers for a couple before that when he first found me, but he wanted that to be my first one because it's such a big convention and it only happens every 10 years or something.
Yeah.
So he wanted to premiere me at that one. So that was definitely an adventure, and like, I don't know, a few days before that I walked the red carpet for Halloween 2018. So that week was definitely mind-blowing.
Very humbling, I'm sure.
Very.
So what was your thoughts? Like, obviously I don't I'm sure you probably weren't too familiar with conventions before then. Like, what was your thought, it being your first convention appearance? Like, how were your feelings and like thoughts? Were you just completely like blown out of the water? Like, how was the like the fans and everything, just overall meeting people and the overall convention experience for the first time?
It was crazy. I mean, I had never even heard of a horror convention. So I just had the description from Rick, my agent, and I saw a few pictures online and stuff. But as far as really experiencing anything like that, it was a whole new deal. So when we first arrived, there were really long lines outside that went around the Pasadena Convention Center, and I just thought, wow, a lot of people like to come to these things.
That they do.
Yes, and I went in, and I just saw my big banner and a table, and he's explaining to me what to do. I said, okay, fine. So then they opened the doors, and because it was my first convention, of course, the line was just like within no time at all the VIPs came in, and it just like my line went from me to like as far as I could see. I'm just thinking, oh my God, I can't even believe all these people are here to see me. So, and the fans were amazing. They were so excited to see me. I mean, I hugged them and they had stories to tell me and things for me to sign. And it was just like, it was just an amazing experience. I had the best time. I met so many nice people. So I had no idea going in what it was going to be like, but then I was thoroughly addicted. I said, "Oh my gosh, I love this community. This is so fun and they're just the nicest people." So my agent, after it was over, he said, "Well, what did you think about it? You think you might want to do it again?" He said, "Not everybody does." And I said, "Are you kidding? I want to do this as many times as you can book me. This is so fun." So that's where it started. And he said, "Okay." So that's what we've been doing.
That's all. Like, because some people, like, they get overwhelmed, and they're, some people, like, guess celebrities and stuff like that. They're not into, like, not that they're rude or anything. Like, they just have, social anxiety and stuff like that. So that's not necessarily something that they'd be into. But, like, it's great to hear that, it was such a great experience for you, and very, I'm sure overwhelming, but in a good way, of course.
Right. It was totally amazing. I mean, I've enjoyed all the cons. They've all been different. The big one, different, the big ones, the little ones. They've all been really fun and different. The Mahoning Drive-In I did last year because everything else was shut down, and that was a ton of fun going into the room where they show the 8 millimeter or whatever they are, the old reels. So I actually got to go behind the scenes and look through the little porthole and watch the original film
Oh, wow.
Halloween being shown from the big reels through the little hole. It was so cool.
That's crazy. I would love to do that.
Yeah, it was awesome. So I've just been able to do so many fun things that I would have never ever thought about
Yeah.
doing.
Um. Yeah. So, like we were saying earlier, I really hope, like, because you did well, just a week or two ago, you were at Days of the Dead in Las Vegas. Was that correct?
Yes.
That, I'm sure, was quite a bit. Well, how was it? Considering it's, one of the first bigger conventions to take place since, COVID and everything. I mean, how did it turn out, and how was everything handled with?
Oh, it was good. I haven't been to that convention before, so I can't really compare it, but I had lots of fans there. There were lots of fans for other people. There was they in the hotel you had to wear a mask, but at your table you were allowed to handle it like you wanted. So basically, I did not wear a mask, but when I got up to take photos with people, I had my Judith tombstone between us so that they could take off their mask. Because, I mean, what fun is it to have a photo if your face is
Yeah,
covered up?
exactly.
So I thought, I'm vaccinated. So I just put them on the other side of the tombstone and we were able to photograph without masks and it was awesome. It was really fun.
That would still be like a great, like, because they were doing. I remember I was seeing in some conventions they were doing. You know how they do the professional photo ops? They were doing them.
Right,
There, the person would stand like here. There'd be like a glass like separator, and then they would be on this side. So it's like, eh. But like how you,
right.
like, doing the Judith Tombstone, like, it's a separator, but I mean that's the total different, like, separator. That's a really cool, like, that's a cool idea, like, to do.
Right. I thought of that last year when we got invited, like I said, to the Mahoning and also to a pop-up event for Houston Horror Fest, Film Fest. And I thought, how can I do this so I can be not make it look stupid that we're like 4 feet apart in the picture. So I kept thinking, what can I do to make this look natural and fun, but still keep a little distance between us? And I've done a lot of photographs with the large tombstone, and I thought, well, maybe I could fly with that. So I have this one really big suitcase that I don't use very much, and it just fits in there. So I thought, okay, that's it. I'm going to take the Judith tombstone and set it up. And it actually worked great, and the fans loved it.
Oh yeah.
So now I guess I'll be taking it from now on. I know in UK for that convention they've requested it. And then on the I did a little event also last year in July, I think, I did the Myers House, North Carolina.
Yep.
We did a little event there that was so cool. But I actually did an in costume as Judith there, and the fans loved it.
Oh, that's
So we took some photos like that, and so I'm hoping Chicago. They're trying to see if they can find another time space for the professional photo ops to see if I can do a Judith in costume. So I'm hoping.
fingers
If
crossed.
not, yeah, if not, maybe the next one because the fans really did like it. So if, with Judith and the Tombstone, I think it'd be pretty fun.
Absolutely. So after hearing all this now, I'm definitely going to be getting with Nathan at Horror Hound and saying, hey, we need to get Sandy at Horror Hound because it sounds like she's just a riot.
Yeah, I really want to go there. Last year I think they were considering me, and then of course everything kind of went to hell
Yeah.
in a handbag.
But like, I remember seeing, because like it really sucks because like Horror Hound hasn't happened since September of 2019. So, and COVID like really blew up like right a week before the March show was supposed to happen. So it's like a couple days before. It's like I don't know. It might be. It's still it's supposed to happen. Then like 2 3 days before, we're gonna
Boom.
cut it down. It's like, are you kidding me? This couldn't have waited a week.
I know.
So
Well, I was booked for 7 different conventions last year, and mostly really, really big conventions. And one by one, I had to watch them. Yeah, we get right up to the deadline. And when the March ones canceled, I thought, well, surely October,
yeah,
because I was so looking forward to going United Kingdom.
that
And I kept holding on for that one because it was the latest one scheduled, and boom, it fell to. And I thought, oh no, so disappointing.
yeah. So I mean, hopefully, it seems like things are really uh, getting back to normal ish. I mean, I've just noticed like recently, like I find it crazy that just really suddenly things are really just kind of getting back to a calmer sense of normalcy, I guess, or however you say that word. Like
Right.
they're announcing all these like concert tours and stuff like that. It's like I thought this stuff wasn't supposed to come back until like next year. So I mean, some of these shows are soonish too, like in like July and August. It's like I guess
Right.
the
I think the vaccination has really helped.
I mean, because it just seems like it's really on the downward like downturn for
Right.
cases and like even where I mean I don't live in I mean I live in a decently sized town, but like it's just like the cases have just like are almost non-existent anymore.
Right.
Smaller.
Well, in Texas, I mean, they set us free months ago,
Really?
and the numbers just continue to drop. Yeah, I mean, the mask, I think the governor lifted the mask mandate. It's been a few months.
Wow.
And I mean, a lot of places like hospitals, there's still some places that request it, or a few restaurants. But for the most part, when he did that, I mean, within a couple weeks, most of the businesses had dropped the requirement as if you want to.
Yeah.
Now, most of the clerks and stuff are still wearing them. So I guess the company policy still has the workers in them, but very few people wearing masks. The numbers have plummeted. More and more people getting vaccinated. So, yeah, people are starting to act normal again, and it's so nice. The
It's
restaurants and yeah, so a lot of the small businesses, of course, just it was luckily most of them in Texas, the governor opened it up back in time to save them.
that's
And
good.
he allowed, they could do spacing and different things to open up. There were rules, but they could open up. I know in a lot of places, my friends that live in other states say that the small businesses just caved. They just couldn't hold on because they're just not lifting the stuff.
Yeah. That
So,
really ultimately put a nail in their coffin, which is terrible.
yeah. So
Well,
I'm grateful for that we lifted it in time that saved a lot of these small businesses because I know people that own them and it's too sad when they've worked forever and it closes.
yeah, we here in Indiana, I think it was back in like the early May, they kind of started opening things like not opening, but like dropping the mask mandates, an advisory as they call it. So it's more or less like you don't have to, but I mean it's still like wear it if you're not vaccinated, and so. But I mean, of course, that's anywhere I believe.
Right.
But yeah, it's great to see this stuff just finally dwindling down to where like yes, I can finally go to these events. Like like I'm not sitting here wondering, oh, is this horror hound convention going to happen in September? And it's like it's looking pretty good that it's going to happen. So it's like it's a sense of hope that
Yes.
I'm excited to finally get back to a physical convention and see people, friends, guests, and just overall just finally have you know get my fix, as some people.
Yeah, yeah, I was thinking of that too, because last year, every time one would cancel, I would just grieve because I thought, oh no, all the fans from that area, I couldn't wait to see them, and some of the new areas where I hadn't met fans there before, and some of the areas where I have that I talked to on Facebook, I was looking forward to seeing them again. And just one by one, I just had to put up there on my Facebook and Instagram, I'm sorry, they've just canceled it. And it was like, oh, I
I
hate.
couldn't. But yeah, really, really hopeful because I remember, if I remember right, that September show of last year obviously wasn't going to happen, but they had showed some people that were rumored for, and they were going to have like a Halloween 3 kind of reunion. They're going to have Tom Atkins, Tommy Lee Wallace. I'm pretty sure your picture was on there, so I mean it was definitely in the cards. It just the cards folded.
Yeah, they did. One deck at a time.
Yeah, but September is very much looking positive. So that is, I'm ready.
Yeah, me too. I'm supposed to be shooting a film in the UK, so it got canceled too last year.
Oh wow,
So, yes, so I'm hoping my fingers are still crossed for October. They're supposed to lift all the stuff in the UK like June 21st
that's very soon.
because they have their vaccinations are going really well too and their numbers are dropping. So if they will do that and not make me stay like a 10-day quarantine or something, which I couldn't do, then hopefully I'll be able to do the con and a movie.
That would be that'd be awesome because I mean your last film. Let's talk about that for a second. Your last film was 1979.
All except for the cameo that I did,
Yeah.
yeah, last month or 2 months ago, I guess. But yes, my last film where I had a significant role in it was 79, I think, yes.
Was it? Oh, I know there was 8 Hots, and then there
I
was
think I think Hots was the last one.
yeah. Then there
But
was.
I can't swear by it. I never can remember the order.
I know. I went to Wikipedia. I had
There you go.
there was Hots, and then there was another one. I forget the title now, but they were both in the same year. So it's like it was one of
Joke. Probably jokes my folks never told me.
these are movies I'd like to see, but I've never seen them. So hopefully Amazon Prime has them.
Gas Pump Girls is
Yeah,
it. I really have you seen that
I
one?
have not, but that was the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, Gas Pump Girls is a lot of fun. I think you'll like it.
I've heard I was looking up on it, and I was like, that sounds like a lot of fun. I'm pretty sure that one is on Amazon Prime. So
Yeah, I think that one's available. Hots is also fun. I liked my role in it. I don't know if it's still available. I'm not sure about that one.
yeah,
And Jokes, I'm pretty sure not.
yeah. So so let's talk about that. So what caused you like 1979 being really your last big film? What kind of was like the turning point? Like I'm done with this. Like what was like was that your decision, or did you just kind of like this isn't for me? Like
Actually, it was related to losing my parents. I lost first my dad to cancer. Before I could even get over that, I lost my mother to cancer.
wow, that's terrible.
So I was early 20s, just, it was devastating, really. I was very close to both of my parents. So when I lost them, I was lost.
Imagine.
I didn't know what to do. I ended up getting married to my first husband. He wanted to move to Oregon, so we just moved away to Oregon. Unfortunately, that marriage didn't last. So I went from Oregon to Texas because that's where my sisters lived, which was my closest family that was left. So I came back to Texas and recovered and became a teacher. So I mean, I loved what I was doing. It just, where I lived in Texas, it wasn't a real option.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to move back to California.
That's definitely understandable, and I'm terribly sorry to hear that. That's kind of a bad question now that it's like I ask it, I'm like, oh no, that's a
I
terrible
know.
question.
That's all right. It's the truth. That's
Yeah.
why I left. But the good thing is now I have started acting again. I'm taking acting lessons. I'm about to start voice lessons because I used to sing as well. So I'm going to build those skills back up and hopefully I will be ready for October.
So did you you said you were so are you still a teacher or have you since left that job as well?
I taught for about 15 years and then I retired from teaching.
What did you teach?
I taught a number of things. I taught everything from kindergarten through master's level college.
Oh wow.
Most of the time I was teaching science or environmental science.
Well, I love science, but I hated chemistry. It was terrible. Like,
Yes. Well, luckily when I was teaching chemistry, it was at the middle school level.
I
And
see.
although they were very bright students, it wasn't anything as bad as if I'd been teaching it at the high school or college level. So it was still very hands-on and still a lot of fun.
Very cool. That's that's really neat. It's like you don't hear that. It's like, oh, what did you know? The lady who played Judith Myers was she was a teacher for a while. You would have thought. So getting back to, let's see, I had a question. I don't know where I wanted to place it. What kind of? So getting back to getting back to Judith. Um, when you auditioned for the role for Judith, what were your thoughts when you realized that you were going to be killed off?
Well, I thought that will be a new role for me. I hadn't been killed before. I had been in three comedies,
Yeah,
so a horror film was a definite change. So I thought it would be interesting to try and die on screen.
I was like sitting there thinking to myself, I'm like, what goes through somebody's minds? Like you're reading this, you're auditioning for this role, and then you realize, oh no, it's like I'm dying.
Yeah, and of course, when I was actually reading for the part, I was reading for multiple parts.
Oh, I see.
So I didn't know until a couple days after the audition which one I had been selected for.
I see. Well, that's interesting. Like up in the air, kind of like which one did I get?
Right.
um. Oh. Oh, this was an interesting question I was thinking of. So, um, what kind of character do you think Judith would have been had she not been killed off? Like, do you think she would have maybe swapped roles, like been like Lori, where she was kind of like the fighter, or do you think it would have been like a delaying of the inevitable, or would she maybe have died anyway?
That probably depends on if she was attacked and lived or
Yeah.
if she was never attacked.
Okay, so let's say she was attacked but lived. Like,
Then I would say she would definitely be a fighter.
yeah, I
Yes.
guess that makes sense because like it's given the circumstances of what happens. Like, did she get attacked or did Michael not attack her? Like that's I guess that's a two-sided question.
Yeah, I'm thinking that anyone who would be attacked so violently and survive would probably be a fighter and an advocate for other victims, would be my thought, sort of like Lori.
Yeah.
And if I had never been attacked and just went on living my life, I would imagine I would have continued to be sort of a self-centered girl that just, yeah, didn't care a
Right.
whole lot about little brothers and
Yeah.
stuff.
More of like a Linda character.
Yes.
Carefree and like, it's, I'm just gonna live my life to the fullest.
Right.
So, so speaking of that scene, what were your initial thoughts, when they used that stock footage for Halloween 2018? That'd be interesting. Like that I thought that was really a nice touch that they showed that during the
Right.
whole of them explaining, like, the podcast.
It was very close to not being in it, actually. They had wanted it to be in there, but they had to have my signature in
Oh,
order to put it in there, and nobody could find me.
oh,
So my agent found me. He said, "Do you want me to let Blumhouse know that I found you because they've been looking for you too?"
oh wow.
So I said, "Okay." So they contacted me and said, "Would it be okay if we used your footage from 78 in
Yeah,
2018?" And I said, "Okay." So I signed a contract with them and they said, "And we will definitely bring you out for the premiere and everything." So, yeah, they said they were within about 2 weeks of doing a wrap. So if they had
wow.
wrapped it, then that scene would not actually have been in the film. So he found me just in time.
Just time. Wow. That's really cool. So this must have been like the time when you like found out people were looking for you, like with the whole Blumhouse trying to find you and contact you.
Yes, all of that happened within, as far as me finding out, for my agent contacting me and finding out that Blumhouse wanted me, all that happened like within a week.
Oh wow, that's a
So,
busy.
yes, it was interesting to say the least.
Um, so going back to the making of Halloween, the original, did you get much experience working with John and Deborah? Like, how was working with them the little time that you probably got with them?
It was good. They were both very nice to us, and they really explained things well, what they wanted, how they wanted it done, the mood they wanted. And in fact, the two of them would get up there and kind of demonstrate, especially in the bedroom, as far as which direction the knife would be coming from and how they wanted me to turn and fall. They demonstrated, the two of them demonstrated that first.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, to
Nope.
get it, to give me an idea of how it needed to flow so that the camera would get it correctly and all of those. So they were great to work with. We actually, we practiced it several times, but we got it in 2 takes.
Oh wow, very nice. That scene, just I love how, because I found out like how, like, the sounds and stuff, they were stabbing a watermelon, was it, to make the sound of the stabbing.
Cool. Yeah,
I think
that
I think I saw that in, like, I think it was a documentary or something. I forget who said that, but that, like, the sounds they made for the stabbing was a watermelon.
that's a that's a good choice.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely had, like, you wouldn't have never thought, like, seeing that in 1978. I bet that's a watermelon they're using. So it's definitely cool. Like, that's one person I still have yet to meet. John Carpenter. I mean, he's on like the top of my list, but I know he's very hard to get when it comes to conventions, because I mean he's very much still busy with his other ventures, like his music and stuff like that, which is extremely cool that he's still, very much into that. Like, I've listened to his latest album, and it just, it has such, you know it sounds like a John Carpenter album. It sounds like his music. You know, any movie, if you didn't know who directed it, or you would hear a song and you instantly know that's a Carpenter film.
Right.
Like
He's so talented.
it's like They Live, Prince of Darkness. You hear like the first note of the song, and you're like, John Carpenter. He is extremely talented. I really hope that. I know he's getting older, but I'm really hoping like the convention he does kind of get back into conventions. I know he's been doing signings. I think it was CPA Authentics currently have a signing for him right now. It's a pretty penny, but you know it's still John Carpenter.
Right. Yeah, they're nice. CPA, they're such nice people.
They have a lot of cool. I haven't bought from them yet. I planned to, but then money things. You buy other things, and you're like, oh, I can't get that now. It's like I know one I really wanted was Don Shanks, who played Michael in Halloween 5, because he's one of my like. A lot of people don't like Halloween 5, but weirdly enough, it's one of my favorites, just because of I think like his version of Michael is just very ferocious. Like he really tackled the character. Like a lot of people are like, oh, he like the mask ruins it for me. I'm like, well, you got to give the director a little bit of slack. He really went in with nothing. I forget.
Right.
Like it was kind of a like I was thinking to myself, I'm like, this movie takes place directly after. It's kind of like Halloween 1 and 2, where it takes place directly after 4. And it's like, how did the mask change? Like, they couldn't have just reinvented the mask, like, for that film. Like, the mask grew hair in the process of going down. I personally like, I like the mask just because it's different. It's more human. Well, I guess that's not necessarily a good thing for Michael, but it's almost more humanistic, but still menacing, I guess, would be the word. That's another thing I was going to ask. I was going to ask, like, obviously I'm not sure, like, were you a horror fan, like, after you did, like, Halloween, or was it one of those things you're like, because, some people do movies and they're just like, yeah, I did that. I'm not a fan of it. Like, something like down the road, like, as you grew, like, older, was it something you look back on and goes, yeah, that was, that's still a great movie, or, how do you feel about the movie today?
Well, the first part of that question is I was a horror fan before the movie. I was a horror fan probably from the time I was 12.
Oh, wow.
Uh, so I was already a horror fan. And with Halloween, oh, I still consider it a great film. Yeah, absolutely. It still scares the hell out of me.
It's got,
It never stops doing that.
yeah, it's the film that really kind of launched I did not grow up a horror fan. I was one of those kids that had an overactive imagination and like was afraid of everything growing up. My mom today still is like, I can't believe how into those movies you were in, like how you were when you were a kid. Like, I think it was Scream that really kind of like set the way for me being afraid of like masks and stuff. It was just something about the mask that just scared the hell out of me. Like imagery, it's a lot of like things just get burned into your retina, and you're just like, ugh. Like I want a quick story. So the Scream, the ghost face mask. I was probably 7 years old, and my mom, she was a prankster. She would always, do whatever to she was probably the reason why I'm into horror films now, honestly. So we were at Walmart, and this was Halloween time. It was like September-ish Halloween time, and they used to put like statues and stuff along the freezer area, and they had a statue of Ghostface. He had the mask, the get up, the fake knife, and everything. And I'm sitting there like clutched to my mom's leg, like, and she's like, look, she's like, Shane, don't worry. You see, it's fake. It's fake. And like as soon as we get like right under it, she goes, oh, I think it moved. And like here's like 7-year-old Shane screaming bloody murder down Walmart, and she's like, what have I done? It's just
That's funny.
my mom, like, just people are like my relatives are always like, man, you used to be such a scared little shit. Like, how do you watch these movies now? It's like, I grew up, I guess. It's funny, like a movie like it wasn't really Halloween. Like that wasn't a film that really like got me over my fear. It was a movie called Boogeyman, and it's actually a film that's kind of about facing your fear. So it was kind of ironic. Not the best of films to like be interested, like to say, hey, this is the film that got me into horror movies, and people are like, really? It's like, hey, I mean, it got me over my fear, didn't it? Like I'm a huge horror guy now. It's like it definitely becomes a part of you, especially like if there's a difference between people who watch these movies and a difference between people who like I can't say I live them, but you know, it's definitely it becomes a part of you, like who you are, and I think that's just it's almost unhealthy at times, but you know, I could be into. I tell my wife all the time. She's like, "You buy all these collectibles and stuff like that," and I'm like, you know, I could be buying car parts. I could be car.
Absolutely. Or ball caps, thousands of ball caps.
Yeah, it's like you think this hobby's expensive. Imagine if I were a car, like a, you know, a like somebody works on a car all the time, a junker car that goes racing with it. It's like you've spent thousands of dollars on this car that is just gonna collapse at one point. But
Yes, at least your things have worth.
and they have worth and they mean a lot to me, and that's all that matters.
That's right.
Let's see here. I was gonna so asked about the horror films. Like, so what was like growing up or even today? What was your favorite or is still your favorite horror film?
Hmm. Well, let's see. The first horror film that well, the very first horror film I remember seeing was The Blob. And I saw it with my dad in Oklahoma in a drive-in in a horrible storm.
Ooh, wow.
So that one left an impression on me. I was maybe 7 or 8. So that was my first whoa kind of thing. And then the second one I saw was again with my dad. So I guess I need to give him credit for this stuff. Was Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. And I think that one scarred me for life. I'm not even sure I could sit through that one again.
Oh,
With Betty Davis and oh God, who was the other woman that used to play with her all the time? Uh,
mm,
Joan Crawford.
oh, okay.
Yeah, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Oh my God, terrifying. Very good movie, I'm sure, but I saw it at a young age, and I mean, it just really, I'll never forget it. And then after I got through those traumas, I ended up really liking Psycho. I
Absolutely.
like The Shining. I like Scream. And of course, Halloween. So I'd say those are my favorites. I like psychological horror more than just gore with no real point.
Yeah,
I like a good story where the story is as scary as the gore.
exactly. That's the thing. Like, you can watch a movie with like, you know, a slasher anytime, any day, but it's like the psychological or the paranormal that really, you know, sticks with you. And that, like, still today, like, you know, obviously I'm not really afraid of these films anymore, but like, there's still films that I watch that still, you know, like, still will stick with me. Like, you know, the Conjuring films, for instance, like the imagery and the stories and like just the overall atmosphere of those films, just very unsettling, very creepy, and just the imagery of, you know, the demons and stuff like that, how well they create those things. Like The Nun, for instance, like, I mean, it scares the hell out of me, but I love it because it scares the hell out of me.
Right. Well, what's the point if it doesn't scare you?
Yeah, a little bit. Like, obviously, like, you know, with slashers, they don't really, you know, they might scare some people, but to me, like, I love slashers just because, it's like watching an action movie, I guess, in a way for of that caliber. Halloween, of course, like going to like some of my favorite films, like Halloween. I can't say it's my favorite horror film because it's honestly my favorite film. Like, I'm gonna go that far to say it's probably my favorite film just because I mean, I can't sit here and say, oh, it's not my favorite film, but I have all this stuff. I mean, it's got like horror film wise, like that's a hard question, really.
It is a very hard question.
Like I like a lot of '80s stuff, obviously. Like you know, like Reanimator is definitely up there. It's a very fun, like uh, it's kind of a gore fest, but it's also very like almost like a dark comedy in a way. And of course, Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton. I mean, knock out of the park in that one. And of course, I love Stuart Gordon, and I was really devastated when he passed away. I want to say it was last year or the year before, and I'm very fortunate that I got a chance to meet him before he passed away. Another one that has kind of really grown on me. Like the first time I watched it, I didn't get it at all. Was Phantasm, the original Phantasm. That film was like I'm sitting there watching. I'm like, what is happening in this movie? Like you don't. It's very much a mind bender. And then like you watch it a second or third time, you're like, okay, this is different. This is interesting. Like it's very sinister, kind of like you can say Halloween. Like a lot of people talk bad about Halloween 3, and I wish they wouldn't, because Halloween 3 is its own enigma, and it's a great film. Like I don't care what any Halloween fan says, like or any horror.
I like Halloween 3.
It's so good. Like I understand where people are like it doesn't have Michael Myers in it. I'm like, well, it wasn't supposed to. Like
They should have just named it something else.
yeah, like I can agree to that. Like Halloween, if it were not that they just took the 3 out, even
Or just called it Season of the Witch or
that,
something.
that too. Like or
Because I actually like it, but it just seems misnamed.
yeah, and I think that's initially where they mishandled the film in the process of like naming it and promoting it and stuff like that. We're gonna put this film out, call it Halloween 3, and obviously it's not going to do well because people want Michael Myers. I'm like, he's in it technically. If you watch the scene with Thomas,
Right.
watch it. I mean, he's there. He's just he's not in the film. But it's like
Right.
that film was far more darker and sinister than any other Halloween film. Like with the whole Connell Cochran being he's this Wiccan or witch or whatever, warlock is what he would be, I guess. And it's like that's the whole his plan for the masks, killing all these kids and stuff. That's far more sinister than a slasher.
Right. I agree. It's again a psychological horror, so that's why I like it.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
messes with your mind for sure.
The mind bender and it messes with you. It's a good movie. Let's see here. I think I might actually be out of questions. I might be stumped here. Oh no, I think this thing. Oh no, I wrote because I had my questions written down, and I tried to have them memorized anyway. But like I like to keep them down just to remind me, like, hey, so I can flow well with it. I had them on my phone. I'm like, I'm gonna put them on this iPad. And I didn't realize how low on batteries this iPad was. But I believe I've asked all my questions. Um, I don't know if is there anything that you would like to talk about more, or just is it like are we have we covered most things?
Well, I do want to say hi to the to some of my friends and fans that I see have joined and said hi. So I want to say hi to them. And also, I'm looking forward to seeing people at the cons this year. I hope that more of them line up. I know my agent's working on some, and he doesn't usually tell me what he's working on until he's booked it for
Yeah,
sure. So I know he's working on several. I know Chicago and For the Love of Horror, and I think there are a few more that are still going to come up. So I'm looking forward to seeing fans for those. I'm also hoping that so far I have foreign directors interested in me. I'd like to see an American director interested in me. It's a long ways to go.
yeah. I mean, that's a far way. That's a flight.
So I'm hoping that an American director will eventually come up with something for me to do work-wise. So
Yeah.
that would be fun.
So
So that's kind of my thoughts, and I wanted to thank you as well for having me on your show. I appreciate it.
I thank you ever so much for allowing me to interview you. It was definitely an honor to be able to talk to you and chat with you, even though, we're not in person, but I'm hoping, maybe September rolls around. I'm going to, twist that guy's arm and say, you need to call her agent right now. I'm going to, I'm going to tell you, you need to call her agent right now. I feel like he would definitely be for it just because like, I think there's a lot of people that he wasn't able to, because initially this show coming up is supposed to be basically the show that was supposed to take place back in March of last year before it canceled. So hopefully most of the people, so if not September, then definitely March. I feel like he would definitely have, because I mean that show following was supposed to be a big Halloween event. So I feel like maybe March would be the next best thing for Horror Hound anyway, for sure.
Right.
But
I know that I know my agent. I'm pretty sure he has talked to Horror Hound,
I hope so.
but I don't know what they said. I mean, I'm pretty sure I think he's talked to most of the people that are still considering having a show sometime this year.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
I know I definitely have some smaller shows in some areas that I haven't been in before, so that's nice.
yeah,
But again, I don't have a contract yet, so I'm not allowed to say.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I understand that. I'm even before September, if you, because Days of the Dead in Indianapolis, because I'm kind of smack dab in the middle of Cincinnati and Indianapolis, so they're both like 45, 50 minutes ish away from me. So it's not very far, luckily. I luck out with that because I get to, like, some people have to travel a long ways to go to these conventions and I luck out because I'm just a little drive away, so I don't have to drive very far, luckily. But
Right.
July, Days of the Dead in Indianapolis, I know you just did the Days of the Dead in Las Vegas, so there's definitely an opportunity for Indianapolis, which is hope so because I love where Days of the Dead is now is where Horror Hound used to be in Indianapolis, but they've moved since they've grown a lot bigger. Days of the Dead is it's small, but it's growing. I feel like depending on the show, like obviously
Right.
Days of the Dead has multiple shows, so I mean like Las Vegas, that's obviously going to be a big show, but whereas
Right.
plus it's in like a Marriott, it's a little smaller, but I mean it's still I love that hotel, so I'm very hopeful that I get to go to that one as well, just because you'll have to if you go if okay this if you do go to the Indianapolis Days of the Dead, you'll have to eat at the restaurant in the front of the hotel. They have some great food.
Cool.
And then Cincinnati Horror Hound, you're gonna have a blast. Cincinnati is it was my first convention I ever went to, so it's kind of very it has a very homey feel for me when I go to it. It's a great, of course any convention you go to is probably going to be an excellent experience, but like just for Cincinnati Horror Hound, that convention center, it's so cool just because it's I don't know, you have to be there, I guess.
Well, hopefully I'll find out one of these days.
Yeah, fingers crossed for that. But anyway, I won't keep you any longer. Again, thank you so much for letting me chat with you, talk your ear off a little bit.
You're very welcome. I
Hopefully,
enjoyed it.
hopefully one of these days we'll actually get to meet in person and talk it up then.
I bet we will.
Fingers crossed.
All
Well,
right.
and on that note, I will let you go, and hopefully you enjoy the rest of your day. And I guess it's almost the weekend, so enjoy the rest of your enjoy your weekend.
Thank you.
You take care.
Bye.
Bye. There we go. All right. Well, I thank everybody for joining in, and I again want to thank Sandy Johnson so very much for allowing me to have you on the show today. It was an absolute ball getting to talk to you. It was it was a dream come true in a manner of speaking. It was you know obviously it was we didn't get to meet in person, but virtually meet and greeting and chatting it up and everything. It was just as good as it's going to get, obviously, right now. But hopefully with September or July. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for sticking around, for listening to me drone on and talking. I would like to thank, obviously, Sandy again. I want to thank my sponsors, the Fright Rags, for sponsoring me and providing me with awesome shirts and hats. Tomorrow, a little side note, this is specifically about Fright Rags now. Tomorrow they have a collection coming out of it's a Flashback Friday release where they're releasing some older designs that haven't been around for a while. So definitely be on the look for that. They have the Halloween theme. They have a the Samuel Loomis Logger. The Logger. They have a Trick or Treat, the Rules of Trick or Treat shirt, a Texas Chainsaw Massacre shirt, the Thing shirt, and an Evil Dead shirt as well. So that's tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern time, I guess. And I have a new promo code now for those that have kept track of my promotional codes. I have a new code now. So if you use our report 10, all capitalized, at fright-rags.com, you'll get a 10% discount on your order. So definitely be using that code. Helps me out, helps Fright Rags out for sure. And if you like this video, for those watching on YouTube, once it gets there, feel free to like and subscribe if you liked it. If you didn't, I apologize. I'm trying to get better, slowly but surely, getting more content on here. And while I'm here, I might as well, give you guys a little sneak preview of who I'm interviewing next week. Yeah, I have a back-to-back interview, surprisingly. Next Thursday, I'm interviewing David Howard Thornton, Art the Clown himself. So hopefully you all join me for that. I will have more information on that later on this week and next. And at that note, I will leave you guys good day and hope you guys have an excellent weekend as well. And you guys take care.